If you're looking for a home mortgage, look no further than Premise Mortgage. The Premise process is simpler, faster, and more convenient than the competition because of their cutting-edge technology. Plus, Premise is an independent company, yet is backed by a bank. Therefore, they can offer all kinds of products for clients with various needs and deliver an awesome customer experience. Premise Mortgage is licensed in 43 states and counting. Contact Richie Love today at 704-607-1497. That's 704-607-1497. Hey team, Coach Doherty here. Today I want to talk about a game changer for your business, Whitewater Consulting. Founded by Chuck Cooper, a veteran in the HR arena, Whitewater is like the MVP for small to mid-sized companies. They're experts in human resources, helping you build a team that's as tight-knit as a championship squad. Whitewater's strategy, it's tailoring HR solutions that let you focus on growing your business while taking care of your most valuable players. That's your employees. Ready to huddle up and transform your team? Check them out. Because in business, like in basketball, it's all about teamwork and trust. Let's win this together. Visit Whitewater Consulting and start your championship run today.
Matt Doherty, the 6'7" sophomore from East Meadow, New York.
Leadership is learned.
A starter on Coach Dean Smith's legendary 1982 Tar Heels National Championship team with Michael Jordan.
Jordan comes down with a rebound. Clears it away to Doherty. Doherty going in against Floyd for the layup. It's good.
Leadership is earned.
Head coach at the University of North Carolina and the University of Notre Dame.
You notice Matt Doherty, he is up working every second of this ball game.
Leadership is taught.
Public speaker, author, and executive coach.
And leadership does not require a title.
This is the Rebound Podcast with Coach Matt Doherty.
In 1981, Joe Reto was a first-team All-ACC pick as a designated hitter and second-team choice at first base for the UNC Tar Heels. He led the Tar Heels in hitting with a .392 average, the fourth best in school history. He also hit 13 homers and drove in 46 runs. July 26, 1981. Headline in the newspaper reads, Joe Reto, an All-Atlantic Coast Conference baseball player for the University of North Carolina, was paralyzed from the chest down and went into a coma as a result of a traffic accident Sunday. As I read that, it comes back. I mean, I was in Chapel Hill then. We had just gone to the Final Four. We played Indiana. And ironically, Indiana won a national championship with a power forward named Landon Turner, who ended up getting into a car accident within weeks of Joe's car accident. Landon also ended up in a wheelchair. And you'll learn more about the relationship between Joe and Landon as you take a listen into this powerful, powerful episode with Joe. Joe Reto and I mean, we go back, and he's an inspiration to me because it's his mindset. Because this podcast, the Rebound Podcast, is all about rebounding from adversity, and no one has done it better than Joe Reto, who was, as mentioned in the open, an All-ACC baseball player for the University of North Carolina. And then he has a life in a wheelchair. But he talks about the impact of his dad. He talks about the impact of his high school coach. And he talks about things like setting priorities, needs versus wants. And then the mindset of, I'm not disabled, I'm inconvenienced. Boy, there's so many nuggets that we can learn from. I hope you enjoy the show. Joe, it's been a while, man. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. I'm very healthy. I'm keeping up my end of the deal, things going on. It's amazing where the time goes, Matt. I've got 6 grandchildren now, and just can't imagine. It's unbelievable. The only thing that goes faster than money is time. All right. And
the only thing, let's repeat that. I think that's going to be the first takeaway from this podcast interview. The first thing that goes faster than
the only thing that goes faster than money is time. It's unbelievable where the time goes. Like you blink and like 10 years is in the rearview mirror. Where'd it go? Mm-hmm. You can get the money back, but you can't get the time back, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
None of us can.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. How old are you now?
I'll be 63 in March. March 5th, I'll be 63.
63.
Yeah, March 5.
62. I'll be 62 this February 25th. Man, oh man.
Yeah.
So
our birthdays are like a week apart. Yeah.
Yeah. You're a Pisces?
Yeah, I'm a Pisces. I am.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That explains why, we seem to hit it off, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Think alike.
I'm trying to think when I first met you. I heard of you probably before I met you. You were first team All-ACC baseball player, designated hitter, and second team choice at first base. So that tells me basically, Joe, you probably weren't very athletic, but you could hit the hell out of the ball. Is that fair to say? I mean,
that's fair to say. And that's another one of my beliefs, Matt. In baseball, if you can hit, they will find a position for you.
Yeah.
The good hitters don't sit on the bench.
What made you such a good hitter?
My patience at the plate, swinging at good pitches and putting the pitcher in the hole, say like 3-1, 2-0, and where he had to throw a strike. And I would step out of the box and take a deep breath and say, okay, Joe, drive the ball somewhere. And I was pretty good at it. And I didn't strike out a lot. I thought I struck out too much in my own mind.
Right.
I was up 240 times my sophomore year at Carolina, and I struck out 20. And I thought that was too much. But it wasn't bad.
Were you more? You had 13 homers in 1981. So was that? I don't know how many games you played. Was that a lot? Was that little? Was that average for a guy that was a designated hitter?
Yeah, I led the team in batting average and home runs in 1981, and I was second in runs batted in. And it was over 49 games that I hit 13 home runs. So if you can sort of do some math, you can probably multiply the home runs to a major league season of around 52 home runs or 53 home runs.
Wow.
So I hit a lot of home runs. I got a record at UNC, Matt, that won't be broken. Against Fairfield University in 1981, I hit 2 home runs in 1 inning.
No way.
I did. It's in the record books. Go back to March 25th, 1981. I was the leadoff batter in the 8th inning. And we were ahead 5-4. And like I said, I get the pitcher in the hole, and it's 2-0. And he threw the ball right down the center. Bang, I hit it out on him. And we went up 6-4. We hit 7 home runs in the 8th inning, and I hit the first one and the 7th one. We scored 11 runs.
7 home runs in 1 inning?
One inning.
How many pitchers?
I got to say that there were probably 3 pitchers. I don't remember that. Right, but I know I didn't hit the 2 home runs off of the same pitcher. I can tell you that much.
Wow. Were you a fastball pitcher, a curve? Like, could you hit a curveball? Obviously, you could hit a curveball because you hit a high percentage. So, what was the pitch that when you felt it was coming, you like, oh my, like things slowed down for you, and you just saw the seams and you let it rip.
Mm-hmm. As I alluded to just before, what I tried to do is get the pitcher in a hole where he had to come throw a strike, and that usually means about 95% of the time it's going to be a fastball.
Right.
Now, if you, Matt Doherty, are on the mound and I'm ahead of you 2-0 and you throw me a curveball, even though it's a strike, I'm not going to swing at it. Okay, because you're going to get me to ground out to second base or something, and me not being patient, waiting for the fastball. Now, you throw me a strike on a curveball the second, say 2-0. I'll bet the farm the next pitch is going to be a fastball on 2-1, and that's where I'm going to hit you. And that's the way I manage myself at the plate. Not being too set that I'm going to swing at anything. I'm going to swing at anything. Not necessarily, because if you throw me something that I'm not going to like, say a curveball on 2-0, I'm going to take it. And if it's a strike, it's a strike. More power to you, man.
Right. Yeah, that's really cool. I love the inner game of the game. You know, I love talking the technical side of sport with high-level players or coaches, and you are certainly a high-level player. And then July 26, so 1981, what year were you at Carolina?
I was a sophomore at Carolina.
So sophomore.
And I wasn't necessarily happy, Matt, with the goings on within the baseball team outside of the locker room. There was some thunder and lightning in the locker room, and I tried to stay away from the goings on, but it's just not possible from day to day to do it. And there was a lot of, I'm going to use the word dissension, Matt, within the ranks, and we weren't functioning well as a team, and we were super talented, like the teams that you played on for Coach Smith.
Who was your head coach?
His name was Mike Roberts.
Yeah, Mike Roberts, whose son played in the major leagues, right?
Yeah. Brian Roberts played for the Baltimore Orioles. Yeah. That's correct.
And just let's talk for the sake of the audience. Some of the players who came through Carolina, you know, in the 80s, Walt Weiss, who was a great player for the A's, and B.J. Surhoff, who was a great player for the. I know he played for the Orioles. I don't know who else he played for. I don't recall.
B.J. Surhoff was the first pick of the 1985 Major League Draft by the Milwaukee Brewers. And in my mind, and I haven't seen everyone, B.J. Surhoff was the best baseball player that I had seen at North Carolina. He was terrific, man.
Wow.
And I'm not downgrading Walter Weiss, because Walter, too, was a first-round draft pick. And, you know, Walter, if you're out there listening to this podcast, believe me, I had tremendous respect for your abilities, too.
Don't do a drive-by, Walter, okay? We still love you, right? Yeah.
Drive-by. I'm going to find you, Joe. Do a drive-by.
Don't you know, blow up Joe's trash cans.
Right.
Yeah, no, that was a great time, man. We were at North Carolina. I mean, you know, a lot of kids can say that it's a great time, one, to be there, two, you know, we had a great football team in 1981. You had LT, Lawrence freaking Taylor. They were top 10 under Dick Crum.
Sure. Yeah, right. I remember. Sure.
You know, and then we had you guys, and our basketball team went to the Final Four and lost in the national championship game to Isaiah Thomas and the Indiana Hoosiers.
And wait, we got to stop on this. There was a player at Indiana the night they lost at the Spectrum. That was the night Ronald Reagan got shot.
That's right.
I believe they were thinking about delaying the game. There was a player on Indiana named Landon Turner.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Landon Turner and I got hurt exactly identically, hours apart, on somewhere between July 25th and July 26th, 1981. He broke his neck in a car accident in Indianapolis, man.
Yeah. Wow. Well, let's let's pivot to that. July 26, 1981, the headline in the newspaper reads, Joe Reto, an All-American, All-Atlantic Conference, Coast Conference baseball player at the University of North Carolina, was paralyzed from the chest down and went into a coma as a result of a traffic accident Sunday. Tell me,
it was,
as I read that, what goes through your mind, through your body?
I can tell you that without a doubt, I don't remember the first 3 weeks that I was in the hospital. I was so weak. The night the accident happened, Matt, I weighed about 185 pounds. I'm 6'2", and I was strong. The operation went, and I contracted pneumonia about the third or fourth day, and boy, it was bad because they couldn't get the fever down, and you just my body was obliterated, and I didn't recognize what was going on. I started to come around after about the third week, and I've got this halo around my head, and I'm like, oh boy, what did I do?
Oh gosh.
And you don't realize what was going on. And then I looked at myself and I could hardly get up. I lost 44 pounds in 43 days after the accident. All right. So I went from 185 to 141, and I'm still 6'2". Wow. And my father, in his very calm, intelligent ways, arranged for me to go to what I thought was the finest rehab hospital in the United States, maybe even on the globe, and that's the Kessler Institute in West Orange. I started my way back from that absolutely horrible car accident that I was in. But psychologically, it took a few years, Matt, to accept the fact that I'd be rolling around in a chair and not be walking again. I can move my legs, Matt. Mm-hmm. It's not that, but walking is such a complicated physical activity that there's a lot of components that have to click in order for you to make it walk. And I just wasn't able to put everything together despite all my good efforts. But I don't harbor any resentment anymore toward my condition because I'm the way I am. I tell people I'm not the best in the world at what I do. I'm the only one in the world who does what I do.
Wow. Go ahead. This is where it gets real here. Okay. This is, the Rebound podcast. I want to get people on here who have rebounded from something, some setback. Sure. And when, and there's not many people that have had to overcome the setback that you've had to overcome. So, you're a great athlete. You're probably thinking, I'm going to play in the, you have a dream probably playing for the, you're from Jersey. Probably.
Yeah, no, I want to play in the team. Sure.
Who was your team growing up?
Believe it or not, it was the Chicago Cubs.
What? Whoa, Joe. Joe, the Cubs?
Yeah. I had, back in the days of like Billy Williams and Ferguson Jenkins.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ron Santo, yeah. and the Cubs were infamous, it seemed, for their collapses in September and like the Mets overtaking them. And,
so wait a second. So why did you like them? You figured you might be able to play for them because they were so bad?
Well, I think I took them just to rile people who were Mets fans around us because they were in the same division, and I could have picked the Pittsburgh Pirates or something like that. And boy, the Pirates were good in those days with
we are
Roberto Clemente and Willie Stargell.
That was their song, "We Are Family," with Stargell and Dave Parker.
Yeah. Roberto Clemente was as fine an outfielder as I've seen during my life as far as watching baseball is concerned. Yeah. And like I said, somebody's always got it worse than I do. Roberto Clemente had it worse than I did because he didn't get to his 31st birthday, with that tragic plane crash. I think it was.
They just had the anniversary. I think it was just a 50-year anniversary of that.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
Yeah.
I know what he was delivering medical supplies and money to people in Nicaragua, I believe. And he was just a great player that showed up and just played and didn't tell anybody about how good he was.
Yeah, what a concept.
He didn't have to. He just showed up and played, and everybody else, figured it out. But that was.
Well, let's go back to. You said you are the only person that does what you do. Define that for the audience.
When I encounter something, I look not at the problem, but what the solution is for the situation. And the solution to situations involves dealing with the truth of the situation and looking at it from a perspective, do I need to do this? Okay. And I try to teach people to think about what they need to do, not what they want to do, Matt.
Mm-hmm. Need versus want. Yeah, that's big, man. Need versus want.
It's compassion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. You're touching on compassion?
Yeah, because putting one's needs in front of one's wants is a big deal, and I don't know that how many people actually can do that. And being that I do not consider myself disabled, I am inconvenienced, Matt. There are a lot of things that I know how to fix, and it makes a lot of sense from a common sense standpoint, especially bathrooms and parking spaces, that it's not being addressed in the right ways to the common sense level of what should be done, because it needs to be done, but people don't want to do it. They just want to leave the status quo the way it is.
Well, let's back up. After your accident, your life is, dealing with being in a wheelchair. So what was your day-to-day like? What is your day-to-day like? How did you get adjusted to it? I mean, sure. Let's talk about that first, and then we'll get to, the inconvenience versus the disabled, and, your pet peeves with parking spaces and things like that, that we past. But what is life like for you, and how did you get that to adjust to that? I mean, you go from this great, big, strong athlete who, was probably thinking about the major leagues to being, refined to a wheelchair. And how did you adjust to the day-to-day? And then we all deal with the bitter, you could be bitter or you can get better. Like, how did you deal with the bitterness of why me? How did you deal with maybe the bitterness you might have had towards Corey Tucker, who was driving the Volkswagen when the car slid off the highway? Those are things like, we all have stuff. And I always think that, okay, I have it, having a tough day, or my back bothers me, or, I lost a client, or I lost a game coaching. And then, when I think of people like you, it puts things in perspective. So
sure.
Tell me, what was that transition when reality hit? Like, okay, I am going to be living in this wheelchair for a long time, and I've got to get used to it. How did you mentally deal with that?
My parents were great teachers for my brother and I to look at the situation and prioritize what the goals are going to be to make the situation better. Now, was I resentful toward things? Sure, I was. I was resentful, most resentful probably toward Coach Mike Roberts for the, I thought the baseball program was a charade, when I played down there, especially with the amount of talent that I had seen on the baseball team. But my father said, if you keep resenting people and situations, you're not going to be able to move forward and find the answers you need for the situations that you're encountering. So I learned early in life, by the time I was 22 or 23, of the importance of prioritizing what we're trying to do and making adjustments to reach the goals that you're trying to reach.
Mm-hmm. But your goals had to change, right? Your goals go from
without a doubt.
I'm assuming playing the major leagues for the freaking Chicago Cubs,
at Wrigley Field.
And with Harry Carey, to all of a sudden your goals had to change. After that accident, what were your new set of goals, and how did you deal with that resentment?
My father was the principal of a K-8 elementary school for 24 years, Matt, and he always believed in the priority of educating yourself. Mm-hmm. So I went back to Carolina. I got my degree, and then I went to Seton Hall and got a master's degree in rehabilitation counseling. All right. And I had a great deal of empathy for the people that I was working with at the hospital. And then from there, it was a strange transition because I went on to become a registered investment advisor for a life insurance company. And I got my securities licenses, and I made people's lives better via the investment route. But my father showed me that when you can put your mind to something educationally, whether it's studying for the securities exam or getting a master's degree and empathizing with the plights that people have, you're going to be definitely you're going to be making contributions to society and moving forward in your life.
How about that? I just love those things, right? Like your dad, and here you are at 60, almost 63.
Almost 63.
And you're still referring to your dad and the impact that he's made. And then I'm sure you're passing that along to your children and grandchildren. How many children do you have, Joe?
I have two. My daughter, Larissa, is she'll be 36 July 1st, and my son Landon will be 33 on July 28th. And in between the two of them, they have 6 grandchildren, and it's just like I said, where did the time go? It's unbelievable.
A couple things that pop into my head. One, you were paralyzed, so you were able to still conceive, give.
Oh yeah.
It still worked.
Oh yeah. No, it worked. And I remember, because when you're 20 years old, you're so sexually focused. It's like, I gotta have it. And I talked to the doctors at Kessler during that time. And I remember Dr. Richard Sullivan talking to me and said, well, Joseph, just keep trying. And I kept trying, and I kept trying. And then all of a sudden I was starting to work, and I was like, oh, this is good. And, And then I met Sharon, and we did our thing, and we had Landon and Marissa.
That's for like I try to ask questions for the audience. So my mind didn't go to the sex, Joe. It was the audience that made me do it, right? So I had to ask, because there are people that are listening to me thinking, okay, he's paralyzed, but yet he has kids. Could he do that on his own? That's good. Yeah. Check. Now, the second question. Now, you mentioned Landon Turner before, and your son's Landon. Is there any reason why?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. That's great. I told Landon Turner via the longhand letters that we were writing back and forth, if I ever have a son, I'm going to name him Landon. Now, flash ahead to 1991. About 10 days before my son was born, Michael Landon from Little House on the Prairie died of, I think he had pancreatic cancer. And people thought we named our son after Michael Landon, but it was in fact named after Landon Turner because of what happened.
Well, let's go back, because we broached the Landon Turner topic, and then I pulled it back because I wanted to give a little backstory. Let's talk about Landon Turner now. I played against Landon. He was a great player at Indiana University. They won the 1981 national championship. They beat me and my Tar Heels in Spectrum. And then he, as you know better than I, gets in a car accident that summer and ends up paralyzed. So how did you get connected with Landon? By the way, a pretty cool backstory. With the last pick in the draft, or for the Celtics, they drafted Landon Turner. I thought that was great. Tribute to him. I thought that was a great thing. The Celtics taking him, because the way I got in touch with him, there was media coverage. One of the newspapers back then, was it the New York Post or something like that? And so I found out the basketball address at Indiana University, and I may have sent it, care of Coach Bob Knight, and he got it. And Landon came back to me because he had heard about my accident too. I had a little, it was like kind of a small thing under his accident was bigger media wise than mine was. And he came back to me, and, we started writing longhand letters to each other and talking about the different ways that we're trying to get used to our new lives, because I think Landon Turner's a year older than I am. He'd probably be 64 this year. And I understood from the letters how important a man Coach Bob Knight was, and what he did for Landon Turner as far as making Landon Turner's life better. And you can empathize with that, Coach Doherty, because of, I thought Coach Smith was the most important man on campus when we were in school down there. Yeah. All right. He might have been the most important man in the state. Yeah, I believe that. And, just the things that Coach Smith did for the university were just unbelievable. And he never called attention to himself because, in fact, he always deflected attention. Yes. Away from himself, and he did what he did. But what a great basketball mind Coach Smith was, and maybe even better, his mind of teaching life to people was even more prevalent than his basketball coaching abilities. Yeah, and the important things about being alive. Because I remember
I remember the greatest player in the world sitting on the bench at Madison Square Garden because he didn't get to the Garden in time when you were playing St. John's.
Yeah,
All right?
I told that story last night. I told that story last night. Michael shows up.
I tell that story. I was in the audience. I was like, where is he? What? And Sam Perkins scored 31 points that night. And, you guys beat St. John's. And, maybe it was because you put the handcuffs on Chris Mullen. I don't remember, but it was a win.
If you are looking for a commercial roofer, you got to call Catamount Roofing first. They are experts in the commercial roofing space, serving North and South Carolina. The team at Catamount specialize in commercial, industrial, medical, and institutional roofing. They will care for your roofing investment every step of the way, from design and installation to maintenance throughout its life to ensure maximized watertight service. Solutions through perseverance. Catamount Roofing. They work to make your roof last longer. Get in touch today at catamountroofing.us. That's catamountroofing.us. Does your company have a clear vision? Do you have the right people in the right seats? Are you consistently getting the results you want and enjoying the journey? If not, consider talking to my friend and colleague Brandon Blell about implementing EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. EOS is a simple system used by more than 190,000 companies around the world to clarify, simplify, and achieve their vision. Brandon is a professional EOS implementer here in Charlotte who is passionate about helping leaders like you get better results and live better lives. Get in touch with her at eosworldwide.com/Brandon-Blell, that's BLELL, or connect with her on LinkedIn to learn more and schedule a free 90-minute meeting. But you were talking about Madison Square Garden, Michael Jordan, 1981. We were talking about Landon Turner. So let's go back to the start of this story.
The first time I had met MJ, it was when Coach Smith brought James Worthy and Sam Perkins and Michael to the hospital to visit me, and then I was out of school for a year, and we went back. I got back to Carolina in January of '83, and Jordan was probably the player of the year in 1983 and 1984, if I remember correctly.
That is correct.
Yeah. And we started hanging out at the wall at Wilson Library and stuff like that. And then one thing led to another. And hey, here we go. And I'm pretty good at the game now. We started playing pool together, Matt.
Oh, really?
Because Michael liked to play pool.
Oh, you love to play pool.
Well, oh, yeah. And at that point in my life, I knew how to play pool, but I didn't realize what a skilled game it is. And my father was an exceptional pool player, and I sort of picked it up. Now I can hold my own on the table because I have my own pool stick and I understand how to control the cue ball. And it's something that's it's fun. And, if Michael's listening to this podcast, I'd like to play pool with you again because it's a fun game. And, I feel that I have as good a chance at winning at pool as I do in any other type of game that I could play right now.
Yeah, no, and you're competitive. You're competitive. Just hear the stories coming out of your mouth about, people talking junk and how you responded. And, I love it.
I just looked at them with stone cold eyes like this, and I didn't say anything. Yeah. But except to that kid that night that was talking junk to me the first 2 minutes of the game, and I said, "Oh boy, how many points am I going to score tonight?" And I kept scoring on him. But like I said, winning cures everything. It's the greatest thing to win. Yep. And like I said, I would have given back the 33 points for a win that night, but that wasn't the case.
We touched on Corey Tucker, the driver of the car that wrecked. What kind of communication have you had with him since that accident so many years ago? Were you resentful were you mad at him? Were you able to forgive him? Do you able to forgive yourself? Are you still in touch with him?
First thing I'm going to say is, and this is an interesting dynamic, Matt, when I was off the field at Carolina, I didn't hang around with other athletes necessarily. My friends like Corey Tucker and Mike Upchurch were just students at the school that were not athletic. And I preferred it that way. Just because I needed to get away from the game and be with other people, not necessarily seeking praise because I was an athlete and I was hitting home runs and doing things like that, but just because I needed to change in lifestyle away from the field. Now, to answer your question regarding staying in touch with Corey, the answer is no, I haven't, outside of maybe getting a Christmas card from him. And I believe he was in Charlottesville, Virginia, working for IBM. But that was so many years ago that we're just out of touch with each other.
So,
but I didn't feel any resentment. It wasn't anything maliciously done. Oh, I'm going to crash the car and break Joe Reto's neck.
Sure.
This is my big chance. I don't think that way, man. Yeah. It was an accident.
Then what about the, why me mentality? What if I didn't get hurt? Are you able to, how quickly were you able to watch baseball after your injury without feeling, maybe going into depression? Did you deal with depression?
I don't know that I dealt with depression. I dealt with confusion, Matt, as far as where is my life going from here, to the point where, like I said, Kessler had me up on my feet and walking between parallel bars after, and I had the illusion that I was going to play baseball again. All right. And maybe that was it was part of the transition of helping me accept the fact that, I'm not going to play baseball again, but always keeping in mind or learning that no matter how bad you have it, somebody else has it worse than you do.
How did you keep that top of mind? Because I think sometimes that perspective, I carry a medallion from given to me by Lieutenant Colonel Matt Karras, who ironically is from Chapel Hill. And it was just kind of a reminder that, okay, yeah, I'm having a rough day or whatever I'm complaining, can complain about. And I feel that in my pocket. I'm like, it could be worse. I could be, wherever the most recent war is. I could have been in Afghanistan. I could have been wherever. But we need those constant reminders, but we need to remind ourselves without having to, I see somebody in a wheelchair getting out of a car at the supermarket. Now I realize a friend of mine says we always compare up. We don't compare down. And I take that the right way, but we always look at people with more money, with bigger houses, but we don't look at the people who are technically maybe less fortunate than us, and which is a large percent of the population of the world. And we need those reminders. So how do you keep that top of mind that, I am, this kind of sucked, but I'm still better off than most?
It goes back to the way my parents raised my brother and I, and the lessons that are learned from a lifetime regarding stuff that was shot. Somebody's always got it worse than you do. I mean, it might not be in the immediate situation that you're in, but I think in life, and I learned this from my high school basketball coach after all losing, feeling sorry for yourself makes the situation worse than it actually is. And going the high road and looking for the solution is the way to go in lieu of feeling sorry for yourself.
Well, you have a great quote there, touched on a quote that I use often. And ironically, it was Dr. Kevin White, who was the athletic director at Duke, who told this to me. He was the athletic director at Notre Dame when I left Notre Dame. And we kept a good relationship. And after I lost my job as the head coach at North Carolina, he was one of the first people to call me. And he said to me, take the high road. There's less traffic up there. And
I heard that one, but I get what Dr. White is talking about. That there's less traffic on the high road, because he's so right, because people are so consumed with feeling sorry for themselves in lieu, like I said, of finding the solution to the situation that they're encountering.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole, that was the whole impetus of me writing the book, Rebound from Pain to Passion, Leadership Lessons Learned. And then this podcast is, okay, how do you rebound from adversity? And it's a mindset, and it's the mindset that you have. And, how do you find a solution? How do you figure out how to make things better? What is your day-to-day like today? What does Joe Reto do on a regular basis? What are you still working? Are you still working?
I'm retired
as an investment advisor, or you
I'm
still working as a counselor?
Yeah, I'm retired, and I live by myself, but I help my daughter as much as I can, especially with her. With the grandkids. My daughter Larissa is working, she's working as an investment advisor for New York Life, Matt. And, she's doing quite well. And I'm trying to put her in touch with things. One of the big honors that I have is each summer I am the closing speaker at Coach Bob Hurley's basketball camps when they're in the area. And Coach Hurley is as legendary a basketball coach as there has been, in American history, what he did with those kids at St. Anthony. And, I consider it a privilege to speak at his camp and be friendly with Coach Hurley. And my grandson Paxton will be going to the Hurley basketball camp probably this summer for the first time. Paxton will be 8 years old in August. And like I said, the years are just flying by. And that's the focus I have right now. And I talk to people about what I do. And it's always refreshing to talk to people like Coach Doherty, because, we were back in the day during the great Carolina years. And I've had friends say to me, whether it was Lawrence Taylor or Michael Jordan or Sam Perkins or James Worthy or Matt Doherty, that we were on campus at just, a fabulous time. And you don't realize how good the athletes are until you leave campus, because it's not really that way, in outside life. And
you take it for granted.
This is the way life is. No, it's not.
Yeah. Well, let's, in closing, a couple things we touched on earlier, and you said you're inconvenienced, not disabled. Talk on that a little bit more.
The word disability is thrown around by doctors, and it's money motivated to get more money out of the insurance companies because of like a 17-letter word for some condition that the insurance company has no idea about, but he's disabled with this condition. Meanwhile, these people are walking around, they're climbing on ladders, they're doing things that don't affect their activities of daily living. Okay, but they are disabled because the doctor said, my doctor said I'm disabled. So the reason I become inconvenienced is because these people have a mindset that they're disabled and they park their cars where I need to park and they don't. Disability has nothing to do with parking a car, Matt. Parking a car is an activity of daily living that is about access, getting in and out of the car, and safety. Parking lots are dangerous places where people often drive too fast in the parking lot. And when I'm rolling around in my wheelchair and I'm not parked where I need to park, it becomes a little bit of a danger zone for me because I don't know that you, and when I talk about you, generic you, can see me because I'm hidden behind a car. In February of 2018, I almost got hit by a car in a parking lot because I was not able to park where I needed to. And I was probably 500 or 600 feet from the door of where I was going. And, the girl was on the phone and the car stopped maybe 3 or 4 feet in front of me. And because we didn't see each other. But that's the difference between being disabled. Disabled is a mindset that is perpetrated by doctors, and it has nothing to do with parking a car or anything like that, because people are disabled. They're not inconvenienced because, what the doctor said, but park in a regular parking space. You don't need to park here.
Right. No,
that's the difference between being disabled and being inconvenienced.
My mother-in-law was in a wheelchair and had a stroke. And when I see people parking in a handicapped spot with a tag or not, and they hop out and they kind of jog into the convenience store, and I'm like, whoa, dude, like, come on, like, what are you doing? Yep. And so I have to. I'm usually the guy that kind of confronts them, and I don't do it anymore because, like, who knows, but you can't right every wrong.
I can't.
But it's just, it's disappointing, especially after talking
what I'm saying to the audience is do what you need to do, not what you want to do. Okay. And
there you go.
And you don't need to park there. Park 3 spaces down in a regular place and go inside, because I might be 2 minutes behind you and I need to park there and you don't. Okay. And that's the way I've, been about that. But,
last question, sure. Joe, what question didn't I ask that I should have asked?
That's a great thing. What solutions would you like to see being made by lawmakers to write the situation better? And I can tell you about that. One is the parking spaces. There's too many disabled parking spaces right now. It's like an advertisement for people that really don't need to park there. Got to rectify that. And the second,
you're saying there's too many disabled parking spots. There too is. Many handicapped parking spots.
Because it's making everybody, oh, look, there's plenty of disabled parking. It doesn't need to be that way. All right. And what should be done is count the number of parking spaces in the lot and then divide the disabled spaces accordingly by a percentage, say by like 2% or 3%. And they're only for people who are unable to walk. All right. And like that. And second,
right. Versus somebody with that has just had a knee surgery.
Yeah, right.
Or 2 years ago. Hey, Joe, thanks for joining me on the Rebound podcast. Love the perspective you brought to the audience. You're a good man, has been through so much, and you're truly an inspiration to me.
Thank you.
Leadership is a learned behavior. You're a leader, whether you're a parent, a coach, a business owner, or a friend. We all lead in some way, shape, or form. Thanks for listening. I welcome any and all feedback. You can reach me at dohertycoaching.com.